and welcome back to episode 2 of Girls on Deck. I'm so excited today. Today's a great show. We are welcoming our new host, Hannah Jo. She's been working really hard on and off the scenes. I'm sure you guys have seen our Hitting the Field vlogs, and they would not be possible without Hannah Jo. So, Hannah, how are you feeling to be here? Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I am super excited to be here. I'm super honored to be alongside you, Kayla. I can't believe it. I just started being with Hitting the Field Network last semester in the spring, had a great time, and was on air a couple times since then, and I loved it. So to have this opportunity, I'm super grateful, super honored. And yeah, I can't wait to host the show with you today, talking about and the kickoff weekend that we just had. And we also have the pleasure of having our guest, Gadiel Cartagena. So Gadiel, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm fantastic. The first weekend of football just passed, so I'm super happy. I had absolutely nothing to do yesterday, so I just sat on the couch like a potato and watched all the games, and it was a beautiful thing. So about myself, this is my first semester doing Hitting the Field and my second time on air, and I'm having a blast doing it. And it's really fun. We get to talk sports, so it's a great thing. Very happy to be here.
That's awesome. You're a natural. And I know we're all kind of happy that Sundays are back to where we can do that. We can kind of sit on the couch all day and just watch football and tune everything else out. So let's dive right into it. You know, there was a lot of games on Sunday. You had the Thursday night kickoff, obviously, but I specifically want to talk about the Saints versus Packers game. We saw Winston kind of perform a little better than maybe some expected, and Aaron Rodgers kind of perform a little worse than some expected. So, Gadiel, what did you think of that game in general?
I was shocked. My sister-in-law is a Saints fan, and we were watching the game together, and she was not expecting anything. She was expecting the Packers to win the game comfortably, and it was the exact opposite. I mean, the Saints looked like maybe the best team in the NFL, which was honestly shocking. Jameis Winston looked fantastic after his LASIK eye procedure, and he looks good. And if he can lead that offense, the Saints might be much more dangerous than teams are giving them credit for. So they're in the division with the Bucks, and people have kind of been writing the Saints off, but maybe there's a little bit of competition to be had there.
No, I totally agree with you. It was funny. I was reading this thing. It was saying, if you had told us the statistics for yesterday's game, everyone would have believed you, but they would have thought that they would be for the opposite quarterback. It would have been Aaron Rodgers making those big plays, but no, it was Jameis Winston. I totally agree. He got the right idea, giving the ball to Alvin Kamara a lot. Drew Brees was there saying that maybe Jameis Winston was what they had been missing, which was funny to hear that from him in the booth yesterday. But yeah, I totally agree. They are going to be a force to be reckoned with, and they should not, be written off. Absolutely, absolutely. Another game that was a little bit unexpected for me was the Steelers versus the Bills. We thought that Josh Allen was going to come out big, but to me, it seemed like he just wasn't really on the same page with some of his receivers. Kayla, what did you think about that game?
I mean, personally, I had a little more of a connection to that game just because Josh Allen is my quarterback in fantasy. So, I pick him over Patrick Mahomes thinking he's going to put up big numbers, and I just didn't see as much as I wanted to. The Bills are supposed to be a strong team all the way around. So it was a little surprising, but, I think going into next week, as much as I would love the Dolphins to win, they're playing a team that they have a little more advantage over, I think. Gadiel, what about you?
Yeah, that game was surprising as well because the Bills dominated in the first half, and then the second half, they just could not do a single thing. And I really wonder if the wind ended up getting to Josh Allen. I think there was like 15 to 16 mile per hour gusts, and he was just off target, which is on brand for the first 2 years of the Josh Allen experience. But last year, he looked like an MVP. So not really sure what we should be looking at. Is it regression from Josh Allen? Is it Josh Allen just having a tough time in the wind? But for the sake of your fantasy team, I really hope he does turn it around. And I think he will against the Dolphins. But it is a little bit worrisome because the Steelers' defensive backs were really having their way with Josh Allen. They were all over the field. Credit to them. They did fantastic. But Josh Allen is the driving force behind the Buffalo Bills, who everybody have as a Super Bowl contender. And if he can't perform up to an MVP level, then they're not going to have a Super Bowl caliber season.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, he doesn't have that same leeway as he did in the beginning. He's not a new player anymore. He's kind of getting into his veteran quarterback time. So it's kind of surprising where jumping into the next game, the Jaguars and the Texans, where you have a brand new quarterback who lost his first ever regular season game. This goes back to high school too. Trevor Lawrence has never lost a regular season game. So Hannah, what did you think of that one?
I think that Trevor Lawrence has a lot to learn. There were some reads that he should have been reading that he just didn't. He was trying to make big plays when he should have just been going for that first down. And I get it. That's what he was doing at Clemson. He was a big play kind of guy. And he needs to just find a way to do the little things and stay consistent in that. And I think those things will add up into the big plays that he's probably hungry for, and that whole Jacksonville franchise is probably hungry for. But Gadiel, I'm curious, do you think that while Trevor Lawrence has a lot to learn, do you think Urban Meyer, the head coach of the Jags, also has a lot to learn coming from college into NFL?
Yes. I think the Trevor Lawrence, there was flashes of good, flashes of bad, kind of like the rookie quarterback experience, what you would expect to see. But there are some good things there, which is what you want to take away from Trevor Lawrence's first game. But Urban Meyer, on the other hand, I was not impressed with what he did. They really got outcoached up and down the field. I mean, down 27-7 at halftime against a team that everybody thinks is going to go 2-15 this year. That's a problem. And I think it really starts with Urban Meyer. They didn't look very organized offensively. The offensive line wasn't really completely intact. And the running backs split was actually pretty worrisome. Carlos Hyde, who's about like a 29-year-old journeyman running back, got as much work, I think 11 total touches, as James Robinson, who was basically a Pro Bowler last year. I'm not sure if he was, maybe he was reserved. That's a problem. You need to give your best players the ball, and he wasn't doing that. So putting everything on Trevor Lawrence and then not putting anything really on the Pro Bowl running back's plate, I think that's a bit of an issue. But I think they'll be able to turn it around, mainly on the shoulders of Trevor Lawrence. But Urban Meyer, I would be a little bit worried if I was a Jags fan.
Right. So I know you said that you think they could turn it around. So you think that's something that they can turn around fairly quickly to still kind of end with a good season? Or is that something that you think might take a little more time than most people think?
I think probably about like week 8, we'll see the Jaguars become a little bit more competitive, but I wouldn't expect them to have like a playoff caliber year. I think you're looking at them finishing kind of like 6-11, maybe 7-10 if things really break their way at the end of the season. But to start, I think it's still going to be rough. Maybe start like 2-5 and whatnot, but they'll eventually be able to turn it around. It's just right now there's a young team and they have he's an older rookie head coach, but he's still a rookie head coach. So there's going to be an adjustment period.
And I want to ask you too, one more game that I want to talk about, Dolphins versus Patriots. What did you think of that game? I mean, it was close. It was a very 1 point off. So what did you think of Tua's performance and maybe the Dolphins' performance as a whole?
So I am a Patriots fan, and watching this game, I was impressed with the Dolphins at the start of the first quarter and the start of the third quarter. Their first drives of each half were brilliant. It was beautiful football. Tua was fantastic in the RPO. The ball was moving quick. I mean, it's like he was playing a video game, and it was really easy for him. And then once kind of the Patriots had their in-game adjustments, it got a little bit tougher for Tua, but ultimately he was able to make the big throws necessary. There's going to be an adjustment period for them. I think a lot of what he needs is to trust his offensive line, and his offensive line needs to play at the caliber that Tua can trust them, because they weren't there. He was under duress a lot yesterday, and he's not very good outside of structure. But with structure, he looked fantastic. The Dolphins' defense is very, very good. I was very impressed with the way that they played. And the Dolphins look like they could be a playoff team this year. I know they haven't been there in a little bit, but this could be the year.
Yeah, well, it was essentially University of Alabama on that field. You got Jalen Waddle, Tua, and Mac Jones. Speaking of which, Mac Jones on that touchdown, not wanting to keep the touchdown ball. What did you think about that, Gadiel?
I think he is doing a good job of kind of controlling all the optics around him, because every time you see Mac Jones, he's saying the right things. On the field, he's doing the right things. So I think that is kind of indicative of just the person that he is. He's more about the team than himself. And it was also reflected in his post-game comments, asking, like, pretty much the reporters trying to get the blame put on Damian Harris. Mac Jones was just saying, we can all do a little bit better, right? It's a team effort. It's not on one play, one player. So he's doing all the right things, saying all the right things. As a Patriots fan, I'm excited. But ultimately, they still weren't able to win the game. The Dolphins were the team that won yesterday.
Right, yeah. And I think, like you said, I think the Dolphins' offense is going to be something that they struggle with this year and something that they need to get better if they want to contend in the playoffs later on. But overall, I think it was a really good Sunday, a really good start to football. I'm excited. You know, you have the game Monday night with the Ravens and the Raiders. So it's a good week for football. I'm so excited the season's back. I know we all are. So we're going to go to commercial right now, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the young and old talents in the NFL today.
Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying today's episode on Hitting the Field Network. On my show, Take Me Out to the Podcast, we're bringing you the latest in MLB news and some incredible interviews with some incredible people, including Bobby from Outta Here Baseball, Bailey from Foolish Baseball, Dawson Wright, Alec Palmer from Momentum, and so many more. Be sure to tune in to Take Me Out to the Podcast every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, only on HTFN.
And we're back with Girls on Deck, here to talk about some young talent in the NFL and some old talent. We have a lot of star rookies this year, and I kind of want to dive into a little bit. So I'm going to direct it to Gadiel first. What rookie do you see that this past week either did great or you think will do great this season?
Ooh, that's a tough question. There's a lot of rookies that did well. The one guy that I'll start off with, actually, I'll go to the Dolphins. I'll go to the Dolphins here. I was really impressed with Jalen Waddle. He's someone that I wasn't particularly high on in the draft process, but he came out and he only got the ball around 4 times, but he made a real difference for the Dolphins offense. And for a team that's kind of been lacking explosion over the last few years, if Jalen Waddle's able to be kind of that Tyreek Hill-esque factor for that offense, that's going to open everything up for them. And it's going to make Tua look really, really good, because when he was throwing to Jalen Waddle yesterday, he looked really, really good. And he had one drop, but Jalen Waddle was impressive. And if he's able to be good, I think the Dolphins can definitely have a better offense than anticipated, because he's kind of going to be their X factor this year on offense.
Do you think that because they kind of, had that Alabama connection, do you think that helps, or?
Definitely. I think it was pretty apparent. Tua was comfortable throwing to him. He didn't look super comfortable throwing outside the numbers sometimes to some of like the bigger play threats, but he did have a few nice throws to Devontae Parker. But he just looked comfortable throwing it to Jalen Waddle. It was very easy pitch and catch. It looked like they've been doing it for a few years, and it was his first NFL game, and Waddle looked great. So, yeah, I think that connection definitely helped both ways. Waddle was comfortable, and Tua was very comfortable.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, I loved that it was just Alabama all over that field. I think that definitely helped their connection. I want to move to my Broncos here. I had Teddy Bridgewater in instead of Drew Lock, of course, which I think was a choice that was well made, because Teddy is cool under pressure. He is making those little plays. He's reading correctly. Even when the pressure comes in, he's able to plant his feet and make a play, which I am super grateful for. I don't think Drew Lock would have been able to do it. Gadiel, what are you thinking about Teddy Bridgewater?
I think Teddy's going to do his job. You look at what he's been throughout his career. He's kind of been like more so a game manager, where he's not going to lose you the game. And that works on a team that's really, really good. And not to appease to your fandom, but I think the Broncos have a really, really good team. They have a really good defense. They have very good complementary players on offense and a good offensive line with some decent coaching on offense. But he's good. Teddy Bridgewater gets the job done. That's all they really need. Drew Lock, kind of that Jameis Winston factor, where he's doing too much sometimes. And sometimes it's really going to hurt the team. Throw 4 interceptions. Teddy Bridgewater won't have those kinds of games.
Nope.
He's going to take what the defense gives him, and that's what he did yesterday against the Giants. And that's why I think the Broncos are a pretty decent threat to make the playoffs. Maybe they won't get in there because it's really tough, but they at least have a chance, which is something we haven't said about the Broncos in a few years.
Right. And I'm super excited about that factor there. So kind of going on to another kind of quarterback duo that I'm wondering about. We'll talk about Matthew Stafford later, but in last night's game, Bears against the Rams, Andy Dalton started. Justin Fields was in for a few plays, and you know how I feel about Justin Fields. I love him, and so does the whole Bears fan base. But I want to know, I felt like Andy Dalton, he did okay last night. Do you think Fields would have done better?
I think week 1 of his rookie year, no, just because of how good the Rams defense is. Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey alone is a superstar duo on defense, and they have 9 other players that are really good at doing their jobs. So I think it was good to leave Andy Dalton in there. You don't want to throw Justin Fields to the Wolves, but probably maybe even next week against the Bengals, I would not mind them starting Justin Fields. I agree with you. I think he's a fantastic prospect, and there's potential there, but I'm okay with them sitting him until they feel he's fully ready, because it could be one of those. I think he has potential to be one of those kind of Patrick Mahomes-esque players where once he sees the field, it's game over. But you just need him to be prepared to see the field.
Definitely, yeah. Okay, so then let's move on to Matthew Stafford, the quarterback on the other side of the ball that game. I was super impressed with him. Kayla, from Detroit now to LA, what did you think of Matthew Stafford last night?
Yeah, I think, he really showed that he's still got it. He's old in terms of football, he's not old by any means. He's in his early 30s, but I don't think people, were sure of how he would perform. And I think he really proved that he still has it. He's still a quarterback that could be relied on. And I think he did a great job.
Gadiel, what did you think?
Yeah, no, everything Kayla said, I totally agree with. He's got an arm. He's not the youngest guy, but he's not old. Like she said, he's early 30s, so he can get the job done. And that's something that the Rams didn't have with Jared Goff over the last few years, since that Super Bowl kind of blunder where they only scored 3 points. Matthew Stafford is not going to fold like that. He's a really, really good quarterback, and he kind of brings a downfield poise where he's okay taking a hit in the pocket and just launching it downfield, because he did it yesterday, and they had 2 huge touchdowns to show for it. So this Rams offense is going to be a problem. We've known the Rams defense is going to be a problem. We know Sean McVay is a problem coaching, a good problem. He's a good problem as a coach. He's a problem for other coaches. And the Rams look legit. They have all the makings of a Super Bowl contender. It's just, are they good enough to beat a team like the Bucs? That's the real question.
That is the question. Yeah. And I'm loving the relationship between Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford. They seem like they're best friends, which is really fun to watch as a fan. So a rookie that we have, sorry.
No, before we move on from that, I just want to compare kind of the 2 games yesterday. So Aaron Rodgers only threw for 133 yards and Matthew Stafford threw for 321. So if that gives you any idea of kind of how yesterday went. But no, continue, Hannah.
Yeah, no, that is a great picture of how yesterday went. I mean, I don't have much love for Aaron Rodgers, to be honest with you. But anyway, moving on. We have not talked about Mr. Rookie Zach Wilson playing for the New York Jets yesterday. He had a few touchdown throws and looked good sometimes, other times not so much. Gadiel, what was your impression of him yesterday?
Kind of same as Trevor Lawrence, where it's the rookie experience. There's going to be ups and downs, but as long as you're seeing those ups, because if it's just all downs, then he should probably sit on the bench, but he wasn't. And he played decent. There's obviously going to be some growing pains. Worried about his left tackle, Mekhi Becton. I hope he's okay. He's supposedly strained his MCL yesterday, although it looked much worse. I think the Jets they still have something to look forward to. The receivers looked pretty decent, at least getting open. They didn't catch all the passes, and Zach Wilson didn't hit them on every throw, but there's potential there for them to have a pretty high-flying passing attack. If it's not this year, maybe in the near future. But Zach Wilson, there's some good things to take away from that.
I think the Jets will take any little sense of victory they can get at this point. Even the slightest thing, they're going to take it and run. They've been dying for positivity for years now. But Another rookie I really wanted to talk about was DeVonta Smith. Absolutely dominated yesterday's game. I believe it was, went for the 18-yard touchdown. He became the first Eagle ever since Tony Stewart in 2011, whose first career catch was a touchdown. So, Hannah or Gadiel, what did you think of his performance yesterday?
Gadiel, you can go ahead.
Ooh, okay. I was going to defer to you, but this is the other play I want to talk about for rookies, but I chose Jalen Waddle. But I guess we'll go to his Alabama counterpart, DeVonta Smith. He's one of my favorite players in the draft, and he only weighs about 165 pounds, which is thin to be a wide receiver 1 in the NFL. But it doesn't matter for him. They call him the Slim Reaper, and he is a stone cold killer as a rookie. I mean, it doesn't matter who's guarding him. He's just so technically sound, whether it's off the release, the top of his route. It does not matter. DeVonta Smith is a tactician when it comes to route running. He is so good at what he does, and it's really going to help the Eagles. You see what it looks like when they have a true wide receiver 1 with their tight ends, with their speedy receivers, with their good running back, with their good quarterback, and a good O-line. Sounds like a good offense. So the Eagles might impress, and I think DeVonta Smith is kind of going to be that X factor for them to be able to do so.
And Hannah, what do you think of DeVonta Smith and that Jalen Hurts kind of duo? I mean, we saw Jalen Hurts did phenomenal yesterday as well.
It's Bama, Bama, Bama. I mean, we can just prove that everyone that ends up doing good in the NFL early in their career, they probably went to Alabama, spent some time with Nick Saban. But yeah, I totally agree with you, Gadiel. I mean, I am so happy for this guy. First reception is a touchdown. I mean, if that is a sign for the rest of his career, then I think we have a lot of good stuff to look forward to. I have one last question for you two, kind of as we're, comparing, we're doing younger guys and the rookies and we're doing veterans. Ryan Fitzpatrick comes out with a hip injury yesterday. And I can't help but think Ron Rivera's over there in Washington. Does he make a call to Cam Newton? Gadiel, what do you think?
I think this is one of those weird situations where I think his vaccination status will actually come into play, because Ron Rivera is someone who I think was recently cleared and was cancer-free. Mm-hmm. So having kind of that whole immune system situation, and he's been very urgent about players getting vaccinated for his team. And I think Washington has one of the highest, maybe like 99% vaccination rates in the NFL. I think that might be the one hiccup. But if they manage to hash that out, whether it's Cam getting vaccinated or not, I will not opinionate on it. But if they're able to hash that out, it's a beautiful fit. It really could work. And I think it would definitely help having another quarterback that can add another dimension to the offense. They're going to start Taylor Heineke, I think, this coming Thursday. But Cam Newton, like you said, I think it'd be a really interesting fit. And I think it's one that would actually work with the Washington football team.
Yeah. Kayla, what do you think? Do you see Cam in Washington?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to kind of go on that. He mentioned this past week in an interview how he's a big personality. You had that interview with the hat with the no top there. But yeah, he's a big personality, which I think comes into play. So do you think that factor can affect his placement on a team as well, Gadiel?
I think in most situations, yes. I actually don't think it would fit on every single team, because if you have a young quarterback that you want to work out, let's say like a Mac Jones, you don't want to have that personality and that good player. He's still a good player in the NFL. You don't want to have that behind kind of lurking where people root for Cam. People watch Cam and he has that charisma that attracts people's attention, and people really want to see him succeed. So you're always going to get like inklings of Cam chants and people wanting to root for Cam. People want Cam on the field. So if you have a young quarterback, maybe that doesn't work. But if you have undrafted free agent Taylor Heineke and you have Ryan Fitzpatrick hurt, Cam Newton is very comfortable in that offense. He's played with Scott Turner, the offensive coordinator, before. He's played with Ron Rivera before. They have a good weapon. They have good weapons. It makes a lot of sense for Cam to go there right now. Like, I would not be shocked if that happened before this game on Thursday.
And I don't think it could hurt them. So
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. I mean, I feel like a big personality like Cam's would be a problem for people who don't know him, but just like Gadiel just said, that whole team is pretty used to him at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw, going back to that, the interview, someone was like, did he buy the hat with the hole in the top, or did he put it on himself? So jury's out on that. We'll have to see about that one, but it's a lot of different types of talent this year. You're going to see those veteran players kind of standing out, those young players and trying to make the name for themselves. So I'm excited to see how the season goes. We are just in the very beginning, so we could be having a very different conversation in a couple weeks from now about who's doing good and who's not. So that's the beauty of football. But when we come back, Hannah and I will be talking about next week's matchups. But I want to thank Gadiel for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure as always, and we can't wait to see how you do the rest of the season.
Thank you guys for having me, and go Patriots. Hopefully they don't lose week 2, because that would be a big problem against the Jets.
We will see. Yeah, against the Jets, that would be pretty embarrassing, but we will see how it goes, and stay tuned.
Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying today's episode on Hitting the Field Network. On my show, Take Me Out to the Podcast, we're bringing you the latest in MLB news and some incredible interviews with some incredible people, including Bobby from Outta Here Baseball, Bailey from Foolish Baseball, Dawson Wright, Alec Palmer from Momentum, and so many more. Be sure to tune in to Take Me Out to the Podcast every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, only on HTFN.
Welcome back to Girls on Deck. Kayla and I are here, and we are going to be talking about some of the matchups for next week. Kayla, which one are you looking forward to the most?
I don't know if I'm looking forward to it or I'm terrified of the Dolphins versus the Bills. You know, that's always something that we struggle with, obviously going up against a team like the Bills. But I don't think it'll be easy as easy as some may expect. I think, you know, we've proven this last game that the Dolphins are very capable of kind of performing. And like Gadiel was saying earlier, they could potentially be a playoff team. So overall, I think the Bills will take it, unfortunately, but I don't think the Dolphins will make it very easy for them.
Okay, I'm surprised that I wouldn't put the Dolphins down so quick. I would say that they can really, I mean, you're saying they can put up a fight. I think they could win. I mean, I think we saw this past week some of the shortcomings in Buffalo and some of the great moments from Miami. So I really think it's going to be a great game. I think your Dolphins might be able to take it.
I could agree with that. I mean, I think if, you know, we see this confidence out of Tua and this not so much confidence out of Josh Allen, that could be something that works in the Dolphins' favors. But at the same time, we have to remember Josh Allen is on my fantasy team. I cannot have him do that poorly. So it's a really toss-up for me because I'm a Dolphins fan, but pick Josh Allen as my quarterback. So we'll see how that one goes.
That's right. Oh my gosh. Okay, so speaking of quarterbacks, Kayla, okay, Okelo Pena is talking all this trash on bets last week about how he's going to win. I'm definitely winning. And this man picked Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. And I have Lamar Jackson, which, by the way, coming up this week, we have Ravens versus Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. I am also torn here because I love Patrick Mahomes so much, but I have Lamar Jackson as my starting quarterback. And I kind of think with all the injuries going on over at the Ravens, the Chiefs are going to take it. Do you have any, you know, what are you thinking about this one?
I think, you know, anytime you go up against the Chiefs, you know, obviously there's so much room for error with certain teams, but I just think the Chiefs take it in this one. I don't think you can deny the talent that they have, that they're so consistent with. That's one thing about the Chiefs that we've seen in the past couple of years. They're a very, very consistent team. So I don't think the Ravens will be able to kind of figure out sorry, I'm losing my voice. The Ravens will be able to figure out kind of how to manage that. So I do think the Chiefs will take that one in the end. But the one that I'm waiting to hear about from you, Hannah, is the Broncos versus the Jaguars. Are you excited? Are you nervous? I mean, I know we talked about how the Jaguars have a lot of growing to do. So I feel like as a Broncos fan, you could be a little more confident going into that game.
And that is exactly how I feel. I feel pretty confident. You know, I don't want our defense to tear up Trevor Lawrence too bad. Hopefully they won't. But I do think that we've kind of got it in the bag. Maybe I'm speaking too soon here. I don't know. I do think that someone as talented as Trevor Lawrence definitely has the capacity to do something unexpected and huge. I just don't know if we're there yet in week 2. But I think that my steady Teddy Bridgewater is going to be great. I think all the defenders are going to, you know, do their job. And yeah, I think it's going to be a good game for the Broncos, and we'll go 2-0 pretty easily. At least that's what I'm hoping for.
Right. I mean, you can easily celebrate definitely next Sunday. I don't think the Jaguars will be able to take it over them. I'm actually a little nervous for Trevor Lawrence, honestly, in the NFL. I feel like he comes in with a lot of pressure. Like, they put out that stat so quick that he lost his first regular season game ever. Like, they were ready for that.
I know.
I think that's something that, you know, he's not used to that. He's not used to this, you know, he's going into finally a place where talent could be equal to him, you know? So
exactly. Yeah. And his coach is going through that same thing of learning that. So
right. So I think the Jaguars have a lot to learn, but I'm so excited for the NFL this season. Hannah, you did a fantastic job in your first show, and we will be back next week for sure. Be sure to like and comment on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at Hitting the Field. And thank you so much for joining us today. We will be back next Tuesday with a brand new show.